Thanksgiving. The press says that election fraud never happens, but the facts keep contradicting them. Prosecutors in Los Angeles have charged 9 people for a scheme where they allegedly bribed homeless people with cash and cigarettes in return for forging signatures on voter registration forms and ballot measure petitions. Harmeet Dillon is a board member of the Republican National Lawyers Association. She joins us. Harmeet, this is the fraud that Democrats assure us doesn't exist, and yet here it comes again.
That's right, Mark. This is the tip of the iceberg. In fact, these people who were arrested are part of a ring of people who are doing this over the last 2 election cycles. And it's a particularly cynical ploy. The signature gatherers, who are the people here in this case, they can get up to $12 a signature for signatures on petitions, which is what was happening here. And yet they're paying these poor bums on Skid Row a buck or a cigarette in order to get them to forge signatures. So if you see this arrest happening in LA County, a liberal county, you know for sure that it's happening all over the state of California. And it's just one of many examples I could give you of voter fraud happening in California.
Well, there are some amazing examples. 75 people registered to vote at a non-existent address in Malibu. 31 people registered to vote at a check cashing store in Southside LA. 10 people registered to vote at a mini golf course. And actually, I'm in favor of the mini golf course. I think every bit to vote, you have to actually be living at a miniature golf course in San Diego.
Maybe they're miniature people. I don't know.
That's right. Miniature voters in miniature polling booths with miniature dangling chads and dimpled chads and all the rest of it. What's the big picture here that we have a bad, you know, we're getting a reputation for Jimmy Carter and the UN observers having to come in and supervise these elections. What's the systemic corruption? Where's that come from?
Well, let me give you one more figure in addition to the ones that you mentioned. In the year 2016 to 2017 in California, almost 500,000 people called for jury duty, said they were not United States citizens. And now that's very telling because those rolls come from the voter registration. So you're talking about massive fraud here. And frankly, a combination of Democratic secretaries of state who have no interest in purging the rolls contribute to this, like in California. In some states like Georgia, you have secretaries of state who are following the law and purging the rolls, and so you have better outcomes there, despite what the gubernatorial candidate there said. And so what Republicans need to do in the next election cycle is really be vigilant about this issue, and all Americans should be vigilant, because in any state, people voting who don't have a right to, or people signing papers who don't have a right to, dilute the vote of every citizen, which is a very fundamental right to us in our country. I'm an immigrant myself, Mark, and to me, this is one of the most precious rights of our democracy, so we need to safeguard it better than we do.
But you use the word vigilance. When people try to exercise vigilance at polling stations and in elections, the Democrats say they're racist and they're trying to suppress the vote. So that vigilance is racism, according to them.
Right. I mean, in fact, when we've tried to do voter integrity efforts in the Republican Party, we've actually been sued by the Democrats and put on the sidelines for several years at the RNC. So that's definitely a significant issue. But we have a Department of Justice right now, and we do control the executive branch. And the Department of Justice has an election division, and they should actually be taking a look at this issue and bringing some federal indictments. Because, like I said, Skid Row, this is just one incident, and if you scratch the surface, you're going to find a lot more, and it's huge.
Selling the votes to the homeless for $12 a pop, and in return, giving them a free smoke. Wonderful situation. Harmeet, thank you, and have a great Thanksgiving as one immigrant to another. President Trump is